India is sowing the seeds of climate-resilient crops by developing varieties that can better withstand the effects of global warming. It comes as one of the world's biggest grain producers brace for more frequent and intense heat waves and water crises.
The country estimates it lost nearly 70 million hectares of crops to either heat or water stress between 2015 and 2021. Ishan Garg has the details.
That's why high feed rate is required per hectare.
India quite literally feeds the world. It's the planet's second largest rice and wheat producer and among the world's biggest exporters of both staple grains. India's agri-food sector also feeds its own population of 1.4 billion people. But a lot of that is becoming increasingly difficult in a country where heat waves, cyclones and floods are becoming more frequent and intense. The government estimates that climate change could reduce yields for rain-fed rice and wheat by around 20% come 2050 and double that by 2080.
Here in India, we saw the most intense heat waves and floods on record, all in one decade. The government says it has created policies to preempt and tackle such crises. Its new National Action Plan on Climate Change focuses on renewable energy production, sustainable agriculture, and protecting vulnerable ecosystems.
That includes working on breeding high-yield, climate-resilient crops that are capable of withstanding harsh weather events, a move experts have welcomed.
Thicker leaves so they can sort of sustain droughts, let's say strong physiological structure so that they can sustain the attack of cyclones.
In August, Prime Minister Narendra Modi released 109 high-yield climate-resilient varieties of millets, pulses and vegetables. Overall, the government says it has developed nearly 1,900 such varieties since 2014. They are distributed to farmers in India who then have to be convinced to switch from the crops they know to the ones the government hopes they'll grow. The move promises to be a game changer, but it comes with a hefty price tag. India is allocating $32 billion to the agriculture sector, but nearly 3/4 of that is earmarked for welfare measures and subsidies, and it's unclear how much of the remaining share goes to crop research.
If you look at what is being spent towards development and deployment of climate-resilient seeds or climate-resilient agriculture practices that we were talking about, the expenditure is minuscule as compared to that. So it's this disparity which is more worrisome.
Nowadays we need to be ready to accept that there is going to be much more heat stress or water stress, abiotic stresses, and that's where better breeding technologies, more precise breeding becomes super important to have crops that are resilient to these situations.
German pharmaceutical and biotech giant Bayer also hopes to complement government crop breeding efforts with climate-resilient farming practices and technology. Examples include using a direct seeding rice machine instead of manually transplanting crops. Bayer says this can reduce water use by up to 30 to 40% and greenhouse gas emissions by up to 45%. It's also partnering with a government agency to use drones that can monitor crops and spray medicine. As India braces for a more unpredictable future climate, the hope is that public-private partnerships like these can better prepare the agriculture sector for that uncertainty, but also to sustain the livelihood of farmers and the needs of the people here and around the world who depend on their crops. Ishan Garg, CNA, New Delhi.